What the hell did you do to me?
Just relax, Samson. Let us take care of you. Oh, God! Please, don't kill me!
I'm not. No, Helper! Whatever you do not engage your helicopter blades! You'll kill us both! No, I won't. Just trust me.
So, hi! Welcome to Venture Bros, Venture Brothers Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Bryan Dressel. With me, as always, is Nicholas Catwoman Friedemann.
Wow.
Accurate. That's accurate.
We have Mr. Graham Red Hood and the Outlaws Mason.
Hello.
And we have Matt Hellblazer Dykes.
Hello.
Season 4 brings new nicknames, and thanks to Graham's recommendation, we're doing comic books all Season 4. Since we record these things two episodes in a go, Matt was very kind to hang on out with us, and he will stick around for the Season 4 premiere. So, very happy to have Matt back on.
Happy to be here. I hope that listeners are like, oh, not that guy.
Oh, fuck. That guy again?
Who's that Brit?
Get him out of here.
But I do think it's fitting for the end of the last season, for the two-part episodes, and then this episode that takes part immediately after the others.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely
or
very
at least
fitting.
opens immediately afterwards.
Yeah, because unless you're doing what I'm doing and watching them on a disc, like if you're watching these on Hulu or Amazon or wherever you want to stream it from, it's very tough to go, I don't want to see what happens next.
And I'm done now.
Yeah. I'm satisfied.
Well, that was the thing. I finished watching the two-parter for this and then went straight on to the next episode. So I was like, I've got to watch the next one.
Yeah, you just kind of have to. I feel like you can stop at the end of this one and like, okay, now I can go to bed or make a sandwich or whatever the hell it is you're going to do. But in between those two, it's really tough to stop watching.
Yeah.
But let's get into it. So this is Blood of the Father, Heart of Steel, Season 4, Episode 1. To quote the billboards that going around, if you were still, a billboard looker when this season started, they had my favorite ad campaign ever. And it was just the two boys' faces, Hank now with his long hair, and Dean, and it says, Venture Brothers Season 4, time to jump the shark. And if you'd seen that ad campaign, much like I had, I was very excited for it. I was living in Chicago. I was at Ian's Pizza, for those of you who remember where that is. I was really excited for the show, and then I'm like, I can't wait for this to start. And then I watched Season 4, Episode 1, and I was like, what the fuck was that?
Shark jumping.
That is a good way to describe it. I think it's great, and we will get into why. But before we do, I'm going to give a very quick overview. This time I'm not reading Brok's notes. I am reading Team Venture's notes, because this one's really tough to sum up quickly, and there's so much to talk about, and we don't have the full hour like we did last week. So I'm going to get this done really quick. Questions are answered and truths are revealed. Learn how Henchman 21 copes with life without 24. See what happens when Brok and the Venture family are forced to part ways. Discover the final fate of Helper. And all the while, the ballad to the free world hangs in the hands of Dean Venture, who must kill Adolf Hitler. And I think that actually sums it up really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. For an episode that is very jumpy, it's quite a good summing up, really.
Yeah, because and I was going to try to do it off the top of my head, and then I looked at this, and I'm like, no, that's way better than I could ever do. Because this episode is nuts. And I mean that in the best way possible, but I did a little bit of research into this one because I thought it was necessary. Like, I knew when we started this podcast, when we got to Season 4, Episode 1, I was going to have to look into things. Because there's just no way to do this one without knowing something of what was going on. And I want to bring this up first before we start really diving into the episode. It's just a little bit of the behind the scenes. Did anybody else read anything on this one or no? Am I the only one?
I did some research as well.
Okay.
I didn't.
That's fine.
Very little.
The thing is that so Season 4 was greenlit at the same time as Season 3, kind of how we talked about last week. And they knew that any cliffhanger they left in season 3, they were going to be able to answer very quickly in season 4, and they knew that they were going to try to make things more difficult for themselves. So they're going to get rid of Brok for at least half a season, and it's going to be okay. He's going to come back, nothing to worry about, but we're going to try to challenge ourselves as writers and these creators to make the show a little bit more difficult. And they made Sergeant Hatred a mainstay, and he is, according to them, more fun to write for than Brok, because Brok has the same answer to every question, which is violence. And Sergeant Hatred has many answers, most of them terrible, to any question. And I love that they brought him in more. But the thing that I find really interesting about this episode, at least the behind-the-scenes aspect, is that they wrote this episode 7th out of the entire series. So they had already written 6 other episodes from season 4 before they started this one.
Huh. Wow.
And they only wrote 8 episodes before they went to the network and went, we need a fucking break. This is not working. Like, we are just creating way too much turmoil for ourselves. We're not going to finish. We're going to go way over budget. The show's going to fall apart. We need a break. And that's the whole reason why this season is split into 2 parts, because they were basically driving themselves insane trying to make this super complicated, very fun show. And they stopped at episode 8, and both of them kind of blame this episode for pushing them over the edge. Because they were so desperate to do something new and different and something we've never seen before in an animated show with the premiere, and I think they pulled it off. I agree with them where it's not the best episode, and it's not entirely successful in every regard, but overall, if it totally didn't work, I would always skip the episode. Like I do going all the way back to Terrible Turtle from the season 1 pilot. And I don't ever skip this one. In fact, now I look forward to it because I know how bonkers and crazy and just weird it is. But I understand what they're saying when they're 100% satisfied with it. But what do you guys think around the table? Good episode, bad episode?
It's a good episode.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good episode. It is nuts, and it's a lot to take in, and yeah, jumps around a lot, but it is something new. It is a risk. I mean, that's one of the things that we love about this show is its ability to take risks and nail it pretty much a majority of the time. And not nail it 100%, but get it pretty much down to where it's hilarious and totally entertaining to watch. And they did it again.
I think for me, the first time I watched it, I got to the end of the episode and was like, what the hell was that? And then and it was sort of like I went back and rewatched it again. Still was like a bit like, what the hell is that? And then then watched it a couple more times. Then finally was like, okay, I get it now. And then it's like when it's putting together where the bits fit in as well. You know, that CGC rating that starts coming up. Like the time I had no idea what a CGC rating was. I was like, what the hell is this thing that keeps popping up? And then when you sort of like when you understand what it is and like you can piece together where each scene goes. I mean, I'd love to see a version of it edited together so it's in chronological order, just to sort of see how that story goes.
It'd be interesting, but I kind of agree with what they were saying, where they felt like the story was too thin. Like, that's kind of why they did it this way, because they just wanted to answer questions and not necessarily tell like a very big overarching story.
Yeah.
So if we did it in order, it would just be kind of a mismatch, kind of boring episode.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just that sort of difficulty of getting where the story is. It's a difficult one, especially like for a season opener as well. You know, you've had that break between the season 3 and season 4, and then you come back in, and then it's very jumping around kind of thing. But having like seen it a few times, I think it does get better with each viewing because you know what's coming, and then you can sort of piece together little bits and put the story together, and it like I do enjoy watching it now. But when I first saw it, I was like, "What the hell is this?" Like, and it almost put me off the rest of the season. Almost.
Nick, what did you think about it?
Well, I was going to say that the thing that I find really interesting about this episode is that I also walked away thinking, like, what the hell is this? But I'm a huge sucker for shows that play with format and try and do something different. There's just because it's like, oh, this is something I haven't seen before, and I'm always kind of drawn to that, which is, I think, part of the reason why I like this show so much is that they do take these big chances. And There's a great article series that used to be on this website called Splitsider that I guess is now in Vulture, which I just found out today, which talks about this episode and kind of like some of the stuff that it does. And the series is called Structurally Sound, so I'd highly recommend it. But one of the things that I always remember from this episode is when it first clicked in for me of the format for how they're telling time. And they do a lot of really interesting things that are done in other in other mediums as well. Like the length of hair is a time, showing device. They use it in Knocked Up as well for, what's his name? Martin Starr's character, where he's doing the beard growing contest. That's a way for them to show that time is passing within the universe. So you can be like, oh, okay, I know roughly where we are in this process. And they use that with Hank, and they use that kind of with Brok. And they use a lot of really interesting devices so that even if you don't follow the depreciation of the comic book, you can still kind of have an idea for what's happening when, which I think is really smart. They kind of layer a lot of stuff together. So I was infatuated with this episode just from the format part of it, but I do agree with what they say, and it didn't really occur to me until later that it's like, yeah, this episode's kind of thin. Like, it's just answering questions, but it's trying to do it in a way that you're engaged, even if you're not necessarily following along as cleanly as you would a normal episode.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it not only answers questions from the season 3 finale of like, is 24 dead? Oh, he's sure dead. How does 21 deal with that? He goes insane. He steals a plane and he becomes a different character. Like, he leaves the Monarch. Like, he goes nuts.
He joins a LARP crew.
Yeah. Those
I love the graffiti that they do on the plane as well.
Yeah, with the 24 mural. Like, like they do a lot. But then they also set up their own questions that they want to answer later. Like, why the hell is Sergeant Hatred with the family, and why is his face painted flowers? Like, what the hell is going on? And then they answer it just a little bit later with, it's painted flowers because Dean was in charge of his camo makeup. Like,
which is something that you think, you're like, I should have seen that one coming.
Yeah.
You're like, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that works. And then we have like just little things of like the Nazis coming to clone Hitler the dog. Like there's just so many random moving parts in this episode, and I don't feel that they ever really let a thread go. Like, I feel like if there's a question, it is answered in this episode. Like, it's very, very self-contained in its kind of madness ball that it is.
Yeah, you've got to sort of like pay attention to get the answers, but they are there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely what this episode does very well, is it makes you pay attention with every single thing, because you're just like, what is currently happening in front of my face?
Yeah. And it really sets the tone. Like, a lot of season premieres for many different shows have always like a little double duty. They have to keep the fans that were currently watching the show and possibly bring in new ones who got excited by like, oh, something new. This one really kind of lets the latter half of that go. So it's like, if you weren't a fan before, this isn't going to win you over. Because it's just like exactly what you're saying, how much attention you have to pay, how much knowledge you have to already have of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because they spend no time introducing fucking anything.
No. And even then,
and I love that though.
Yeah.
So do I. I think it's great.
Well, I think
it works.
Yeah, exactly. I think that what they decided is basically what you're saying, Brian, which is like, look, we'll try and bring people in just based off of like word of mouth, but we're no longer going to be kind of leaning into that, right? So Savannah and I have been rewatching Seinfeld, and there's a shift between season 2 and season 3 where at the beginning-ish of season 3, it's like they're really starting to do some very sitcom-y things, which they hadn't been doing, and it feels like notes from the network, and then they kind of drop it. They're still keeping it very Seinfeld, but if you rewatch the beginning of season 3, they start doing things that are like, this feels like an old sitcom trope that doesn't fit. And I think that basically, to the credit of Cartoon Network, we're like, do you. Like, do whatever you want. Like, this is going to be how we're going to approach this show. And I think it's for the best.
Yeah, and you don't really ever get that feeling that they've been totally let off the chain in the entire first 3 seasons.
Exactly.
Like, throughout the entirety,
exactly.
It's like, they are a Cartoon Network show. And that's
Right.
great. I love the first 3 seasons. Just listen to
Yeah.
any of our episodes of them. Like, it's one of my favorite shows ever. But when you hit the ground running with season 4 of this is new Venture Brothers.
Yeah. I mean, when we talked about it of all first 3 seasons of like, you know, this feels very Venture Brothers. This feels very, true to the artists. But there's always a few episodes that are like, this feels like a note from the network.
Yeah.
And every season, even season 3 of how great it was, still had 2 full episodes that were like, this feels weird. And now this feels entirely true to the artists and entirely true to Venture Brothers as its own entity.
Yeah, and like even episodes in this season that will come up of like the glider, like there's some weird things in here. And I think glider's in this one. It might be season 5, but like it's just like this doesn't really gel with the rest of the season, but it still feels inherently Venture Brothers the rest of the way out. I don't think there's a. I could be wrong, and we'll get there obviously organically as we go. There's 16 episodes in this season. It's the longest out of the whole show, but I don't think there's ever a moment where it's like, what are we doing with this one? Like, what was the goal here? And because like even this episode where it's like, what was the goal here? It was to be shocking and new, and it was intentionally confusing. Like the GCG rating was entirely, or CG rating was entirely there to confuse the audience. Like that was the only reason they put it in there, was to make people go, what the fuck?
Yeah, and kind of make you either, at least at the end of the episode, question it or watch it again, so you can be like, oh, okay, that's when it started. Now it's kind of going backwards. Okay, blah blah blah.
Right.
It's definitely an episode that rewards with multiple viewings.
Oh,
I mean, a lot of the
Yeah.
episodes are like that. You always pick up on something new. I mean, there's, I watched, some of the I've watched season 1 now. I must have watched it 20 odd times because I like constantly watch it from the start to the end. So I must have seen season 1 20 odd times easily. And yet there's still new things I pick up in some of the episodes where I'm looking, going, oh, I never noticed that before. And I think with the season 4 opening episode, this one especially, because it jumps around a lot, because you've got that CGC thing, I think you always are going to pick up something new on it because you're going to be piecing together where it fits together, and then you're like, oh, that's what they're on about there. Yeah. And it's that sort of thing of, you always are going to find something new and, different out of each time you view it. And I think that's what's a really great piece of writing and how they write the series, really. I think it's so good, like, that you can pick up new things. It's like you don't end up just watching it. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, well, this is that, and that. There's always something, oh, that's interesting.
And I think this episode showcases how strong of writers they can be. Like, because even if the rest of the show is just, it's more like it's much more linear from here on out. Like, this is really only super non-linear episodes, but it shows the fact that we can know what's going on with it because we've watched it so many times. Is like, oh no, there is a story there. They did it different, and I think that's really exciting. I kind of want to start talking a little bit more like the actual details of the episode, because we've been talking just a little bit more about like our opinion of the whole thing. The first thing I want to bring up, we've mentioned it briefly, but this is where we finally have the family unit as we will have it the rest of the show, which is with Sergeant Hatred.
That's true.
Sergeant Hatred, when he first joined the crew, I was on board from the second the credits started and I saw him as part of the family. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm into this. I love Sergeant Hatred. But I know a lot of people don't agree with me on that one, and it actually took a little bit of time for people to warm to him. My wife included. Even when we were watching the episode this morning, she was like, I did not like him in the beginning. It's like, I got to that scene with him and Hank in the hangar where he's telling Hank to shoot him, and I'm like, nope, I love this guy.
Yeah.
I was more on the other side. It took me a while to warm up to him. And I think it's because I loved the relationship between the boys and Brok, and I think that was really great. And I think I had a thing in my head. It was like, he's not Brok. It's not the same. It took a little bit of time. Now, when I get to this, and like, knowing what comes along and everything like that, now when I get to it, I'm like, yeah, this is great. Like, Sergeant Hatred's in there. This is so much fun. But initially there was that sort of, I don't know if I like this guy. He's just kind of like a weird replacement for Brok. And yeah, it was another thing that sort of put me off a little bit was, having Brok out of it initially.
And I think it's kind of intentional. I think they wanted you to have that same feeling that Hank is having of, you're not Brok, you're not my bodyguard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's again the brilliance of the show. Like, they actually got audience members to feel the same way as their character of like, the fuck is this guy doing here? The pedophile. Great. I'm really happy to have him around our kids. Like,
that's been solved though.
Yeah,
it takes the injection to and I quote, make all those little naked boys in your head go bye bye.
It's fine. It's over. Totally clear.
Yeah.
Which has got the best name for it ever as well. No Molestol.
Yeah. But I love it, and I think I agree with you. As much as I loved the character Sergeant Hatred, just because I was a fan of him in season 3, having him around more made me excited. But I agree with you. Like, it is very jarring to start with him in this, and but I think it works, especially like knowing where the show is now. Where I feel like season 7 starts showing we might have ran out of ideas for Sergeant Hatred, but I think season 4 is showing we ran out of ideas for Brok and the boys. We needed to change this up.
Yep.
And I think it was brilliant to do it the way they did it, especially knowing that, like, with us knowledge foresight, knowing that Brok will come back halfway through in just a different capacity, but he's still part of the family. I think that's great. And I don't think we would have appreciated that as much if we didn't lose him right from the get-go. And it kind of feeds into the end of the season 3, where the season 3 finale was the goodbye to Brok. This is just kind of the epilogue of that, of like, all right, so if we said goodbye to him, this is how we find out where he landed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how much further in time we are when we actually pick up the rest of the story.
Yeah. And I think that's good. I like that we did it that way. I think if we had seen this more... Like, if this had been the whole season, which it feels like it almost could have been, given how much time is covered in it, I think it would have been the wrong way to go, and it would have been what we were talking about last year. It would have been more of the same, just with a little bit of different. And they were smart enough to know, like, no, we can't do more of the same. We have to be totally different from here on out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's set up in that first episode that, like, the difference, you have that difference straight away.
Yeah, you can't watch this episode and not know this season will be different.
Right. I mean, even so, like, we, kind of going through the Sergeant Hatred stuff again, and with just being different, is how he handles, his intro in this is he's basically saying, like, I'll literally pay you. He's talking to Hank. He's like, I'll pay you not to shoot that guy.
Well, he's saying, I'll pay you not to shoot your dad.
Right.
Yeah.
I will pay you so much money to not shoot your dad.
But think about how, like, the dynamic between, if it was Brok in that situation, Hank would have probably been a little bit more reserved, but I don't think he respects Hatred at all,
No. And that's the thing, is like, is he'd be more reserved for one, and for two, there would never be snipers up on the hill because Brok would have been in the middle of it killing everybody.
Very true.
Yeah.
So, like, it just, from the get-go, like, we wouldn't have stealth operations. We wouldn't have people hiding in places. Brok would have handled all of this, and we'd be having Cheerios. Like, it'd be done by now.
Yeah.
And I think...
Yeah, they'd all be in the panic room.
Exactly. They'd all be in the panic room, and Brok would be murdering everybody. And we know now that, like, oh, no, that's not an option anymore. Hatred's not that guy. He's never going to be that guy. He might be a capable bodyguard, but he's a bodyguard in the normal sense of the term bodyguard.
Capable is a stretch, but but you're right. He is a Sergeant Hatred. I mean, that's his job as a military man, and about commanding other men to do other things.
Yeah,
and, delegating responsibilities. He's not a killmonger.
No,
he works. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
He works. Dean and Hank. Personalities quite well, like with Dean he's always playing on with Hank I always mix that up. With Hank he's always playing on the fact that Hank idolized Brok, and he's like saying, oh yeah, I know that Brok was one of the people who brought you up because you are so honorable, and even in one of the later episodes where he thinks that the Guild of Clandestine Intent are there for him, and these Hank's making him help him get all like his dad's playboys and things like that, and he sort of he manipulates him into thinking, yeah, I know that you're not just using this situation to get what you want because Brok brought you up and and things like that, and he does he's more of a nanny than a bodyguard, I think. In the terms of in terms of like whereas Brok would protect them and sort of show them a little bit of like what's good and honourable and be a father figure, because let's face it, Rusty is not a father figure.
What do you mean?
Despite the fact he continually forgets about Hank.
Yeah.
No, Dean's right here.
Oh yeah.
Ass.
There's
But Sergeant Hatred is more of a he's a nanny. He's
He's more of a caretaker. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's that and it works with like where the boys are as well. The boys are like, teenagers now. They've finally got to teenagers. They've not died or something. And
talking about
Which
the
is weird
boys
to
a
think
little
about.
bit, I find it interesting that like this really kicks off that Hank is growing up and Dean is determined not to.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like Hank is ready for the next thing. He's ready to be either a spy or Russian Guyovich or open his own shop at his dad's hangar. Like Hank is ready to grow up and be something new. Whereas Dean wants to keep being a boy adventurer. He's still reading Giant Boy Detective. He names his dog Giant Boy Detective, even though it's clearly Hitler. This is where we really start seeing that divide between the two boys of like, what do they want out of life?
And you have that. You have the seeds of that in the season 3 finale, especially with Hank, because he's like, come on, let's go. And then it sort of continues into season 4 where he is, he's up on the hill with a gun, and he's wanting to, be that guy, and it's like, and like what you said with Dean, he's still cowering away in the corner, and just wanting it to be over.
He is wearing his speed suit, but other
That's
than
true.
that, really hasn't changed much.
How does Hatred phrase it? It's like when the tough gets going, that boy always gets going. Like,
yeah.
And it's true, and I really like, especially because I think this episode sets that tone really well of like the boys are going to be different from here on out. Like this is where Hank is going to be starting to go, and Dean is going to be trying to stay where he is, and I like seeing that, especially knowing how the season evolves, and it's like, oh no, that changes. Like they both really grow up a lot in this season, and I think that's really cool. And
this is where they start to grow apart as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, because they just clearly want different things out of life, which is normal, and it's cool to see those sorts of character traits happen. Who haven't we talked about as far as this premiere goes?
The Nazis?
The Nazis. They're basically just the same Nazis from fucking Indiana Jones. Like, they even die the same way.
Yep.
Yeah.
But which
we didn't really get to talk about 21 much. We did a little bit, but I think that's really all that happens in this episode. Like, you see a lot more of him in the second and then even later on. As far as, like, what he's going through. It's just kind of introduction to him who's not really there yet.
this is him going through mourning. Like, we see the beginning of his mourning, and it's sad, and it's not really played for jokes that often. And it's another kind of brave thing in the show.
Yeah.
Because he's been the comedic relief now for 3 years.
Exactly.
And we kick this thing off with, what's happening is kind of funny. He's joined a LARP crew. They stole the supersonic jet. He's carrying his friend's head around in a box, and Marvel #1. Like, he's still kind of funny. He's still definitely 21/Gary, but he's clearly going through some real emotional problem, and it's not played for a laugh. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, even the after credit sequence is, I think, the first after credit sequence I can think of that this show does that's not for a laugh. Wait, no, I'm confusing. Am I getting it right? No, it is. Well, the after credit sequence is the converging of the storylines where Brok, you kind of see what happens to Brok, right?
Yeah, Gathers has like a great line at the end of the show where that is the beginning of like, oh, so this is where Brok will be the whole season. Yes. And I remember when we got to that moment, like when I first watched this episode back when it aired, I'm like, oh, that would be kind of cool to see Sphinx and see Brok doing this stuff, and we don't fucking see him again.
Well, right, you see him in just the after credits thing, and then it's just like not for 5 or 6 episodes. Like, and then that's it.
Yeah, and it's kind of nuts. I mean, maybe I have it backwards. Is the final scene with
This is
Gathers,
what I'm
or
trying
is
to think of.
The after
I know it's in
credit
this
scene
episode.
is where he kills Hitler.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my god. This
Hey,
episode
Hank,
also
killed
like,
Hitler.
the fucking
No, it was totally me. I killed Hitler.
I just love that. Did you kill Hitler? No, it was an angel. Oh, I was gonna buy you an ice cream cake or something.
No, I'm just kidding. I totally killed Hitler.
Oh, and poor Dean. Just poor Dean. He finally has something he loves, and they have to stab it in the heart with a golden knife.
I love Hitler and he loves me.
God. When the
kinda
trailer
theme for
first
Dean.
came out for this season, like the season 4 trailer, and it's like, oh wow, this is different. And when that line was in there, I'm like, oh no, it's still Venture Brothers.
Yep.
Like, even if things are going to be different, it's still definitely Venture Brothers. I think I've kind of hit everything that were in my notes as far as this episode goes.
I haven't really talked a lot about the Brok stuff, though, really.
I guess that's true. We should definitely spend some time on it.
Yeah.
I think it's just that I'm not overly thrilled with the way they treat Brok in this episode. And I don't...
He does
As
get
much-
fat, which is unfortunate.
I would say that the way they treat Brok in this episode is kind of the opposite of before with the finale, which is like you're kind of in the same seat as Brok as far as like trying to figure out what's happening in the season 3 finale. You're
Sure.
just as confused. And then this one you're like, well, I kind of have more pieces than he does, and we're mostly just kind of seeing him figure it out, but unlike Hank,
react.
right. Unlike Hank figuring it out where he's growing up, we're watching Brok basically recede. And watching somebody recede in TV is always kind of weird. Like, I think that you kind of slowly alienate the character. And so I think because of that, Brock's kind of left with not a lot to do other than paint and that's
Get fat.
Yeah, pretty much.
Art therapy, yeah.
Yeah, but
I think the thing with that is it's with Brok at the end of the episode the end of the season 3 finale. His world is kind of falls apart around
Shattered.
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
He can't trust Hunter anymore
No.
because he and he doesn't know. He leaves the OSI and everything like that. So I think in this one it's kind of like he's not sure what to do with himself, and I think that's quite an interesting exploration of he, like you said, he goes off and paints with what's his name, the $6 Million Man ripoff. What do they actually call him in the series? Him and Sasquatch.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
remember what they call him in this one, but yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
he goes to the only place that he can go. I mean, like you said, his whole world is shattered and is falling apart. I mean, and if you go through what we've seen and everybody that he knows so far, those are the last, one person and one Sasquatch that he can go to trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody else in his life is completely cut out.
Steve Summers, that was it.
That's
Steve
right,
Summers.
Right. But I also like that this episode doesn't, like, it finishes out that storyline. Like, it's not like we're going to
Exactly.
watch depressed Brok the whole season. It's like, no. We're just going to get it. Here it is. This is what he went through after his world crashed down, and this is how he landed on his feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
then
he gets back in fit fighting condition at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
When he's finally
By the time
back
he's
with
killing
Sphinx.
Hitler, he's back to old Brok. He's got the mullet again. He's back to normal.
well,
I think he's in better fighting condition than he was
for
before,
sure.
actually.
And
And
then
he's happier.
yeah.
And he's happier. Yeah, he's got a more defined purpose now, as opposed to Orb, which is just
He's kind of like let loose more as well by being in Sphinx.
Yeah.
There's a lot less rules. I mean, granted, he probably didn't follow the rules in OSI so much, but there's like no rules when he's in Sphinx.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so he's fully in his element there, I would say.
Yeah, I think so too. So it's one of those things where like it's kind of a shame to see the change, but they do it so well and they explain it so well that it's like, no, this is all for the better. Change can be good, and I feel like that's kind of the theme, in my opinion, to the season 4 opener is change is happening, and that's not a bad thing.
yeah. It's
I would
definitely
agree with
good. It's an uncomfortable first watch because you're just trying to figure it out, and I think it kind of puts it in a very interesting way of like, kind of does put you in Brok's mindset of like, okay, here's the stuff that's happening, but what the fuck does it all mean, and how does it all plug into each other? But by the end of the episode, you're pretty much fully caught up, and you're like, okay, let's do it. Let's jump into the rest of the season. I'm ready. This is different.
And as much as I love this episode, I love that the entire season isn't like it. I think that would have driven me insane.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
episode 2, it's more back to formula, just with this new setting.
Right.
So like this entire episode kind of does a season's work of world building, so that we can enjoy the rest of the season. And I think that it's great. I understand why they both say it both worked and didn't work, and they say that I think the quote is like, it's an experiment that isn't entirely successful. And when they watched it, when they wrote their book, they're like, what the hell was that? Like, what were we thinking? And it's like, I love that they still have, like, even they are like, it wasn't the best idea, but I'm glad we did it. And I feel the same way. Like, I don't think it was the best idea for the way to do it, but I think it worked better than they think it did. And I think it was a great way to get us moving into what the rest of the show is going to be.
I mean, I'm interested to see like the actual timeline of how long that actually takes place. Because you have Brok gets really fat, then he gets right back down to fighting shape, and that takes time.
I think it's about a year.
I think it's about like 6 months.
Yeah,
I would say it's 6
a
months.
year at the long run.
Yeah.
6 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
But
you
it
have
is
like
interesting.
Hank's hair growing out as well, and Dean
Yeah.
starts growing that weird mustache thing.
Oh, I love Dean's mustache.
I was going to say, this is as jarring as an opener as Mecha Shiva was
Yeah.
from
Oh,
its
God,
previous
Mecha
episode.
Shiva.
Yeah.
And because, like, when you first watch it, I'm like, wait, what? Did I, like, skip something? Did I miss? What the? Where am I?
Yeah. Are we in Escape to the House of Mummies Part 3 right now?
Yeah. And I'm like, what is... Hold on. But
Every
it
season
sticks
has an
with
episode
it.
like that, though. Like you
Yeah,
said, you've
but
got
it
Mecha
sticks-
Shiva
but it
in
sticks-
season 1, Escape
Yeah.
to House of Mummies in season 2.
But
Season
this sticks with
3?
it the whole episode. The other,
Yeah.
I mean, House of the Mummies Part 2 does stick with it through the whole episode, but Mecha Shiva gets out of it pretty quick.
Yeah.
But you have those openings of like, well, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah,
And-
where are we? How much time has gone by?
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of sticking with that, to where it's like it's shaking up the whole world, but this one is shaking up the whole world and reestablishing something else, and be like, this is the new world now.
Yeah.
Get used to it.
But I feel like we're starting to kind of repeat ourselves a little bit, which means we're at the end of the episode. So for season 4, our new thing will be, for fans of After the Hype, this will be a little familiar, but I love quotes. I love movie quotes. I love TV shows quotes. I've been obsessed with them my whole life, and Venture Brothers, especially season 4, is one of the most quotable seasons, in my opinion, throughout. And this show already is very quotable, but I love the dialogue in season 4. So we're doing favorite quotes. And I can go first. My favorite quote in this one comes right after Brok has to stop by the house to drop off his communicator watch. And he knocks out Doe and card holder, and he's getting ready to leave, and Dean's trying to get him to stay and whatever, and he's like, I gotta go. Tell your brother to stay gold or something. You read something. You're good with words. Whenever somebody throws out stay gold, it brings me joy. It's the cheesiest fucking line in any book ever. And whenever somebody can make fun of it, I'm always very happy. Not saying The Outsiders is a bad book or anything, but that line is stupid. The original source is not. I'm not taking a dig at the original source. I'm taking a dig at The Outsiders for using it in such a stupid way. But that's it for me. Nick, what's your quote?
I think it's mainly, I mean, it's not just one thing, but it's the closure that Hank gets at like the very end of the episode, where he's asking him, it's basically just the back and forth between them, where he's like, Hank asks him, why are you here? Why are you wearing that? Why didn't you say goodbye to me? Why didn't you? And then Brok cuts him off. Like, I just love that whole moment.
It's a really good moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And mine's pretty much right after that, which we already talk about. So Sergeant Hatred comes up. You're like, oh, heck, did you kill Hitler? No, it was an angel. He's like, oh, that's too bad. I was gonna give you an ice cream. No, it was totally me. I totally killed Hitler.
Yeah.
And Matt, favorite quote?
Just a simple one from Hunter Gatherers, really. Boy, you don't know dick.
So good.
And I love that he says it while grabbing his dick.
While
It's
grabbing
like,
his
oh,
dick, yeah.
He got his dick back. Oh, boy.
Too good.
All right, so that brings an end to this episode of Season 4. Be sure to tune in next week as we keep diving down this insane road that is this 2-part season. And we start out with Handsome Ransom, which is fucking fantastic. I hate that it's one of my favorite episodes of the entire season, the second episode in, but my God, is it a good episode. Quick round of plugs. After the Hype, every Thursday, 10 a.m. Samwise, every Tuesday, 10 a.m. And, of course, us at Mondays at 10 a.m., which you already know because you're listening to us right now. Be sure to check out our articles, which are every Wednesday and Friday. However, we are starting to pump up some more articles. Our goal is within the next few months to have an article a day, so you will always have something at our site that isn't just podcast. But that's going to be coming soon as we're working on them. And given when this episode comes out, I believe tomorrow... my Captain Marvel review drops on our website, and if you want to go in totally fresh, read the first 4 paragraphs. If you want to read everything after the first 4 paragraphs, I spoil the shit out of the movie, so I understand if you want to wait till you see it to read all of it, but it's all there. That's it for me, plug-wise. You guys?
Nope.
Matt?
Well, I did a huge ramble on about the articles on the last one, so I'll just say, read the articles. I'm trying to get at least one out a week. So yeah,
and I'm saying this not just because we're working on the same site, but they're all very good, and you make me interested in shows that I would never ever watch otherwise. I still don't have time for Babylon 5, but it is on my list now of things that I should watch. Just
about 80 hours, you'll be fine.
Yeah, because as a father of an 8-month-old child, I definitely have an 80 hours to find in a sci-fi show.
What else are you doing?
Yeah,
that's
watch
a fair point.
Bond.
So that's it for today. Thank you everyone for listening, and bye.